Hello, my name is Chase.
And my name is Blakeston.
Welcome to the Well Thawed Out podcast, where we do our best to have opinions that are
Well thought out.
The sun is 150 degrees. Let's get popping.
It's hot as fuck in here.
That was it.
We are live here in the sauna, and you don't have to squeeze in. They're both wide, so should be able to see no matter where we sit.
I knew that.
We'll see how it actually goes, though, in reality.
I'm going to disperse these sparklers amongst the...
Alrighty, you guys, I am here with Blakeston Bryant. Blakeston, who am I here with?
This is Chase Higgins is right here, and I'm Blakeston Bryant.
And I'm Chase.
Hey, what's us?
This is our first official test of our podcast, which remains to be named, which we think is Well Thought Out, which is a working title.
That's a good one.
We like to call it a working title. I think this picks up a lot of audio. I've tried. The clippy's not very big. I've tried.
You tried that?
Yeah, we could do it right there. We'll see how it goes. All right.
Hey, look at us go.
All right.
Figuring stuff out.
And it's all of these, every single scooch, every single
You gotta
movement.
be comfortable. You gotta figure it out.
Yeah, every single thing is.
Hopefully we pay someone to figure this out for us,
Yeah.
because I don't know how to do it.
But I was testing the audio. It sounds fine, but we don't need any sort of volume, which I'll see if they have settings, because I would rather be able to talk how we normally talk. And then, but
Yeah,
I think
we'll figure it out.
like this.
All right.
A moment. And we are at,
This is our...
like, we've been in here 1 minute, so okay, 59. All right.
This is our first official podcast, and I wanted to come up with an idea of something to talk about, but then I was thinking, we don't know what we're here even doing or talking about. We're just kind of sending it and figuring it out as we go. And I thought we could talk about who we are and kind of what led us to want to do this, or our specific friendship or something of that nature, but we can kind of see what happens.
That's a good idea. I like
Switch guy. There we go.
a nice little introduction for anybody who might be new here. But yeah, we're gonna we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Let's figure it out. All right. So hopefully the audio is not too bad. Well, my name is Chase. I am previously known as the Village Idiot before I met Blakeston, and then I realized just how intellectually low a person could be.
Yeah. I took that role from him loud and proud, and here we are, both the Village Idiots, but I'm definitely dumber. So he did most of this setup to figure this out, but I definitely was along for the ride.
And that's not true. You guys were equally Village Idiots.
Yeah.
Just being nuisance and then by being nuisance, we just try to have fun everything we do and everywhere we go. So
We've been friends for five-ish years now, probably 5 to 6.
I met
4 or
Blakeston
5.
at the gym, and he told me he was driving from my house, or excuse me, to the gym, which is like, literally it was like 1 minute from my house, but he was driving 45 minutes after he closed the gym, and then driving back first thing in the morning to open. And I was like, yeah, no.
Or to go to class or something.
Yeah, I was like, that's stupid, dude. I didn't even really know him. I was like, I'll leave my house key right here. You just crash there anytime, so you don't have to drive that far. That's stupid.
And that's actually kind of a crazy story. I didn't never tell you about that. Well, I've talked to people about that story, and I knew Chase for maybe a couple weeks. It was legitimately, didn't know each other, had never actually hung out, other than I would work at the gym. He would see me at the gym. We would chit chat. And then I've told people this recently, how that's when I didn't realize at the time, but that's when I realized, or that's when I started to understand who you were as a person. Was you opened your house to me at not even knowing who I was. Obviously you had a judge of my character based off us talking, but you let me just stay at your house out of convenience after knowing me for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. And then I pretty much just never left.
Never left.
I got the key, started staying there all the time, not just when it was convenient, and then, which it was always convenient, but then I would sleep on your bed and you would sleep on the couch because he didn't have a spare room. And then his roommate moved out and I just took the room, and then there we were.
That was convenient.
Yeah.
You did have an apartment with your old buddy Tim for a while. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah.
You did have an apartment with Tim.
Oh yeah. Then, so I did move out, or I did not just stay there. I stayed there for a little bit, moved in with my buddy, and then realized it was way more convenient to live with you.
Yeah.
And then we did that for a while. And then we became best friends.
We fell in love.
Yeah, good old fashioned.
Good old fashioned falling in love.
Yeah.
So we're BFF. So the whole point of this podcast, I think, and I don't know, I've done enough things in my life. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right.
Cracking
open a cold one.
Cracking open a goddamn cold one. I've done enough things in my life to realize that we can have a plan all day. And then once you get down into the weeds, or once you get into the thick of it and start doing, things often change, and it's going to be a lot easier to go with the flow and find how different endeavors find the natural course, the natural path that they want to fall into. And what this podcast ends up becoming, what these recordings, what these conversations, what they are to me more than anything, end up becoming, will find its place. We can have plans. Like, I mean, aside from let's sit in a sauna and talk about shit, let's figure out, where the conversations go. I'm fine with letting them take its course. So I have a plan in mind for what I want it to be, but I'm completely okay. And not only completely okay with knowing that it may not go my way, but that it's not going to go my way. You know what I mean? Who we end up talking to, the conversations we end up having, and, the path that us doing this little adventure really goes is up to.
I think I agree. I think that's one of the things I was most excited about doing this was doing it with you is something where if you have an idea, I'm pretty much always down to send it. Or if I have an idea, we figure it out and do it. And it's, we're not just, I want it this way and then we're trying, and then one of us are frustrated. We just kind of figure it out and feel what feels right.
And go with the flow.
That's right.
Yeah. It's a little bounce. I was just talking to somebody about this the other day. Pretty much every single thing or collectively our life is a tightrope walk of going with the flow, but getting what you want and making sure you get what you want. It's a balance of, it all comes back to doing what you can to have certain outcomes or, get what you want in this life, but you have to be okay with shit not going your way. You have to be okay with shit that's out of your control not going your way, at least.
That's my biggest problem for sure as an individual. If we're getting into deep stuff on the first one, we might as well. I know that for a fact, my biggest issue is not just going with the flow, because I do like doing that. I do that often. We go on vacation, we just do whatever randomly occurs to us. But being okay with being in situations that I don't want to be in, which is we literally were just talking before this podcast about going and eating with some people that I would rather not spend time with because I don't necessarily enjoy being around them. But that doesn't mean that I can't still provide positive energy in those moments and be okay with being in those moments. And, being around people that I might not vibe with, I can still be around those people and find a way to enjoy those moments instead of just avoiding any people that I might not get along with, because that's not a good way. You always have to interact with people that you don't necessarily vibe with.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest struggle.
And that's where we're challenged too. That's where you are challenged. And if you're in a healthy emotional space or mental space, maybe this is just opinion, but if you're in a healthy mental space, then gives you a little perspective on, okay, what can I do to be a better person and be more empathetic or understanding or kind or whatever. If you're never tested because you only spend time with people you completely get along with, and it's like, well, yeah, you're not growing or learning or doing anything new.
There is a line though.
Yeah.
There's definitely a line of, someone is incredibly negative and you don't like being around them because of who they are. All it does is make you feel anxious and unhappy. There's a line at some point, and that's my biggest thing that I'm trying to work on is drawing a line just because I might not vibe with someone, or, finding where the right place to draw that line is. And I find that sometimes I can be judgmental of people that, I don't fully get along with, and not because I'm better than them, but just because it's easy for me to judge someone I don't get along with. I think that's like a common thing that's something I'm trying to work on. So
yeah,
that's how she blows.
So I kind of got distracted, but I think the point of this podcast for me right now, and like I said, may change, is for Blakeston and I, because there's nobody I'd rather do it with, to have intentionally go out of our way to seek uncomfortable situations, uncomfortable conversations. We're physically uncomfortable. We're sitting here in the sauna, and it's right now 1:48. I am already sweating in this hoodie, but I want to keep it appropriate, have a little bit of a different vibe from our normal, content that we produce, which is, risque or shirtless or, you know what I mean, whatever we're doing on TikTok, Instagram. And so to have a completely different vibe and completely, expand our horizon. So I'm going to sit here and deal with this. So we are physically uncomfortable, and then we are intentionally seeking, going out of our way to have uncomfortable conversations about things that people may or may not necessarily always talk about. I know as a 29-year-old man and have many friendships that there's a lot of shit we don't talk about just because we don't set aside time to say, hey, like if you have a therapist, you know what I mean? You'll go out of your way to sit down and talk about feelings straight up. But other than that, you don't really do it. Sometimes you may have like on long drives, which we have the luxury of having been on a lot of long drives for work and vacation. That's where it happens because you're there. You're in the physical space where there's not a lot of distractions. It's you and the road, and you'll have music. You'll listen to a podcast, for example, but that only takes up so much time. Some of those hours are going to be dedicated to a real connection and having a meaningful conversation. But a lot of people don't do that. They'll fly somewhere for the sake of ease. And so a lot of the downtime where those conversations would come up don't really exist for us anymore because we're moving.
Well, just to add in there, not only that, but talking to a therapist is about touchy things is easy because there's someone that is completely unbiased. You don't have to interact with them at all. Talking with someone that you're close with, obviously that can be easy in some ways because it's someone that you're close with and trust, but it can be very difficult in other ways because if you interact with them every day, there's things that you might be scared to bring up or talk about, and things that have repercussions. If you have an opinion, they might be judgmental of that, or they might feel a certain type of way, even if they don't mean to. I've caught myself doing that. Someone will bring up something. I know it's happened with Chase hundreds of times. He'll bring up something that, makes me uncomfortable because it could be very well true, about how I've acted or certain things. And then I get defensive or frustrated instead of being able to just identify and figure out what's going on. So sometimes those conversations can be even harder than
with the therapist. And the self-awareness is there because think about it. So for example, like as a man, if we had a conversation and one of us had that initial emotional reaction and then we didn't have another conversation for uncomfortability's sake for 3 years, you're never challenged in that way. You're never forced to face, okay, I feel this way, but let's think about this for a second and slow things down inside of our heart for a second to really assess, why am I feeling this way? And then we talk through it. And if you never have those conversations, you never get to have even the opportunity for that growth to take place. And dude, that's huge, man. I think that's very important for us as men. And I think about it and not like in an egotistical way, but I think about like the success that we've had as, businessmen, the success that we've had, on social media. We're good looking, we're in good health, we're in good shape. I think about, I think like, and honestly, truly in our hearts want to be friendly and love on people and stuff like that. I think that we have a little bit of authority, like, especially I know if there was me in high school would definitely look up to me now. Like, look at this motherfucker. He's, he's making some money and he's got a business that he's running, like all this. So I feel like if we can use that sort of authority to whoever would connect with that, and which I feel like would mostly be young men, but I could be wrong. Whoever would look to us to redefine what it means for people like us to act, redefine, they have all these successes across the board, but they are wanting to be better men, because that's literally my goal with this whole thing. That's my goal with my life. That's my goal with how I spend my time with my daughter. That's my goal when I'm at the gym. I literally just want to be a better man. And when I'm dead and I'm on my deathbed and I'm, looking back on how did I spend my time? How did I live my life? I want to know that I did what I can to be a better man. And that doesn't mean you make a lot of money. That doesn't mean you run a successful business. That doesn't mean you worked out a lot and were in good shape. It means all of those things.
Yeah, accumulation.
And it means that the people who know you most have nothing but the best things to say about you. Obviously, if people don't know you, they can have an opinion, whatever. That doesn't matter. It's literally, what do the people who know you most intimately think about who you are as a man, think about that when they reflect back on their interactions with you. What does that leave them in their spirit? What does that leave them when you're not with them and you cross their mind? How do they feel about the interactions you've had with them? And dude, it all comes down to how we treat people. 100% of pretty much all of this comes down to how we treat people. And I'm realizing the value in like all those little interactions. Like just last night. So last night, you guys, we were driving home from rugby, and our team captain, his name is Matt Workin. This dude was he played rugby for a long time. Obviously, massive man. This dude is 6'6", 6'7".
Yeah.
He's fucking huge.
Yeah.
He's a little bit overweight now, but this bitch, he probably weighs, what do you think?
I don't know, like 2.
No, you said 2, and I can already think you're wrong.
No,
If Javarius weighs 290, Matt Workin has to weigh 300.
I don't know. 300 just sounds ridiculous.
He's 6'7". He's very massive. He's a big dude. Anyways,
This
this
pro
he
rugby.
played professional rugby for in the MLR for a few years, and I was driving home from rugby, and obviously it's a team of rugby players. You can kind of just assume the vibe, the bravado, the overwhelming masculinity, and the competition. And we're playing like an incredibly rough contact sport. So you can imagine the vibe of having, anywhere from 50 to 100 guys out on the pitch during training. And then you take the field and you're playing games and stuff like that. But I was reflecting back to all my interactions with Matt, and I'm like, dude, I am so freaking incredibly thankful for the way this dude has treated me. And not once over the past like 8 years that I've played with him have I ever said anything. And I was like, why do we not talk about this shit? This dude is a leader. He's nice as can be, but obviously he's like to the point, and he says what he needs to say as a leader on the field to get some shit across. And he's not like soft, gushy man, but he fucking is friendly. He's always hyped me up. He's at, just reflecting back on my relationship with him, which is 99% centered around rugby. I mean, I've been out with the team a couple of times, but 99% during rugby, and just reflecting on my relationship with him and how much joy it's brought me. And I'm like, dude, that's crazy that as men, we don't talk about that shit. And probably a lot of times I can only assume because it happened to me that other people think this. I wasn't even thinking about it.
No.
I wasn't even aware of it to even thank him. It's not like, oh, Matt's really fucking nice.
Yeah.
Nothing but positive vibes from him, blah, 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 for years on end. And then but I'm not going to say that to him. No, it was literally,
It's not even.
it didn't even cross my mind to be aware of my relationship with him.
It's just you just know that to be true. Yeah. And that's why sometimes I like to, which I've done this with you and Steven the most probably. But with people in my life, there's times, usually when I'm driving a long road trip, is when I'm thinking about stuff. And there's times when I will spend time to text 10 or 15 people in my life, and it's not like a set number or anything, but just people that are on my mind, or people that I'll take time to think about, people that I care for and that have had impact on my life, to let them know, because one, sometimes, hearing that stuff is just a good thing to hear. I know when people tell me the positive impacts I've had on their life, it's like a eye-opening thing for me, and makes me feel appreciative of who I am and how I treat people. And then two, just so they know how I feel about them. And I like doing that. It's like ooey gooey and gushy, and, not frowned upon per se, but like not thought of as like a manly thing to do. But I couldn't care less about that. I do like to go out of my way to share that kind of stuff with people.
There's some power in, like we were talking about driving. There's some power. It's damn near meditative, especially if you're by yourself. But when you're driving and it's just you and you have nothing but time to think and reflect and sit there with your feelings. And if the music is turned down, you are pretty much forced to be contemplative.
It sounds like a word that exists.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, contemplative. You're forced to think about stuff and feel the way you feel.
Yeah, sure.
But I think that it could do a lot of good for people like us, whatever that means to anybody listening, people like us, to have these conversations, to be incredibly aware. The more time that goes by, the more I reflect on things, the more I realize this entire existence that we have is an emotional existence. This entire, logic, reason, rationale, those are all good things, and they all have their place when sorting through this life and figuring things out. But humans, as humans, do every single thing we do is emotional. Almost everything we do. I've seen it firsthand in myself, felt it firsthand in myself, and seen it firsthand in the people who I know the certain details of a situation and see how they do things. And it's obvious pretty much 100% of the time, people will not go against what they feel, even if they know something. Yeah. Even if they logically, rationally can explain something, know something, they will not go against what they feel. And it's like, well, yeah, these are smart, aware, capable adults making these choices. It's not like they don't know. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's pretty, once you understand the basis of, oh, this as humans, this is where we're operating from. Yeah. And you realize the importance of emotionality in every single situation, you realize, it's pretty eye-opening for a lot of different things.
And not only that, I think one of the things that helps me is trying to remember that pretty much everyone, and I could be wrong, but I think pretty much everyone that I interact with is trying to do the right thing in almost every scenario. There are times when, like, some scumbag that works for me is purposely clocking in and clocking out at wrong times to try and get some more money, like doing, shady things or stuff like that. But the vast majority of the time, and that helps me whenever there's someone I don't necessarily get along with or don't really want to spend time with, when I think, okay, why is this person, doing this? Like, for example, whenever we were out of town and one of the guys wanted the keys to the bus to go shower and things like that, it wasn't because he doesn't like being around the team whenever all the team was hanging out at the bar. He is probably in a routine of, playing for clubs where you shower right after a game and wanting to go do his routine or whatnot, or doesn't want to drink because he prides himself on focusing on the sport we're playing. And it comes across to me as he's being a nuisance because he's potentially making people wait on him and not hanging out with the team. When that's obviously not his intent is pretty much probably not to be rude or be, not hang out with the guys. It's just to do what he feels is right for himself at that moment. And sometimes that helps me to understand the situation instead of just instantly think, why would you not do what I think you should do? Which is not always going to happen. So, but I do want to lighten the mood. I want to tell you guys a little bit about how we got this all set up and how this happened. So initially, Chase and I have been talking. So this all started years ago. We'd go to the sauna at the YMCA and we would get very uncomfortable.
We're here.
It would be,
we're here right now. We're fucking doing it.
We'd be at the sauna and it would be like 180, 190 degrees. It'd be very hot. It's 147 in here now. And we would talk to people because it's so uncomfortable. We would just go off the wall, just talking about crazy things. There'd be some characters in there talking about politics, the whole nine of anything you shouldn't talk about. They would be going on about why they're right and everyone else is wrong.
To try to make time go by quickly, we're literally bothering people. Hey, take them headphones. Hey, what's up, girl? How you doing? Literally. So if you sit there and everybody's just in there quietly, which if you don't start the conversation, pretty much no one else will. Yep. But as soon as you do start the conversation, they're in it and they're about it. And if you sit there quietly, 20 minutes takes 4 hours to go by. But if you're chatting, 20 minutes goes by like that. So we'll come out drenched because we're bothering people anyways.
So that's how it all started. We were talking about doing a sauna podcast. And one, because we like to talk. If you follow us on any social media or anything, we are the class clown idiots.
No, we don't like to talk. It's not that we like to talk. It's that we don't like to shut up. That's what it is.
It's a necessity. I need people to listen to me.
And I need this validation. Yep. Please help me for my ego. Please, I love you.
Us on Instagram.
Please click the bell.
Yep. But so it just started with that, which was probably at least a year ago. It's been a while since we initially brought it up. And it just got pushed under the rug because we're busy. We're doing all sorts of different, adventures, mainly together, social media and rugby and running a business, all that. And then next thing you know, we have...
we're even having people in the sauna. They're like, y'all gotta start a podcast. Yeah. That's where it was. We're like, okay, wait a second. Because we're out here bothering people, having discussions, making them... they're answering questions. We're just being the life of the party, being nuisance, really, more than anything. But people vibe with it. And we're 99% of the time, people were friendly and happy that we were talking. And they would tell us, they'd be like, man, you guys weren't here the other day. Where were you? It was like a damn cemetery in here,
So then it went from that to a year or two later, we lived in the same house again, or not the same house, but we lived together again. And yep. And we have to pause for the creaks of this. We put this together, but it's the cheapest sauna we can find. All right. And then we're in this house and we're talking about getting a sauna. So we ended up getting a sauna just because it's convenient and we don't want to have to go to the gym to do it. We want to be able to use it whenever. And then we're like, screw it, let's get get all this equipment and send it and just figure it out as we go. So we did. And then here we are. Which was after we got the sauna and to get the equipment, maybe a 2-week process, not very long. We figured it out. And now this morning, a little tidbit that Chase doesn't know is I was having a grand time getting ready. And then my cat Dexter, he does this cool thing where if the litter box is a little bit too full for him, if he sees poop on top of the litter box, he won't poop in it. So he went to my bathroom and he shit on my bathroom mat. I didn't see it.
Oh,
so
no,
here I am. Not only stepped in it, but squished between all of my toes. Betwixt my toes, if you will. So I didn't get mad, didn't get enraged, as you might think I would.
Let's just say Dexter no longer is alive anymore or live here.
Yeah, let's just say I told you I fed you chicken, but if I didn't even get mad. I just picked up the rest of the poo. Didn't even do that. Picked up the rest of the poo, threw it in the toilet, got in the shower immediately, took all my clothes off, and then just did a full shower. I washed my foot, and then I was like, I just showered. I just did a full shower. So I took 2 showers this morning. Usually it's 2 showers a week, so that's pretty good numbers for me.
Yeah, that's disgusting. And I'm sorry you dealt with that.
It was a whole thing. I showered literally an hour before this and now here I am going to shower again. That's going to be 3 showers in one day.
I'm just going to get into these cold tubs. So yeah, we do have cold tubs out here. We do have cold tubs waiting for us whenever we get done. We'll see how that goes down. I'm thinking we might have to do a little camera out there set up. I don't know. We're going to figure this out, you guys. I think we're going to fine tune these technical details. We're going to fine tune the programmatic details of formatting the episodes, having talking points, things like that. This is more of a test run for make sure the equipment works, make sure that the lighting is okay, make sure I can edit the video, make sure we can use it. We've got a vertical over here and a horizontal over here for Instagram and TikTok over here, and then obviously for YouTube and things over here. And then the full audio. It's
been less than 30 minutes and I'm already struggling. So
yeah, it's been 26 minutes.
But we're doing it.
We're freaking doing it. I think eventually, you guys, my goal would be to have people in here with us. If we could fit a third, which I think we can. I think I'll just squeeze tight. And we don't have to do it that long. We do it for 15, 20 minutes, and I can squeeze in the corner, and you can have here. We'll have
something with the cameras. But yeah. We'll have to do a little cutback guy.
Yeah.
Where it's 2 angles, but for the same thing. We're just cutting back and forth. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I think there are. It'll be easy to edit the movies, and just the more that we get into it, the more I learn through the process of editing videos. I don't know too much about editing audio, but I'm sure I can look stuff up and figure out how to do it. Luckily, we gave Desi, who is my business partner for Let's Get Moving, the moving company that we own. Yeah. You can't see. For those of you who are just listening, I'm showing you I'm wearing a Let's Get Moving shirt, and so is Blakeston. Desi's my business partner, and we talked to him last night on the way to rugby.
There he goes.
Excuse me.
Well done.
We talked to him on the way to rugby last night, and I can't think of a better person to have on board for the technical aspect and his creativity aspect of, helping us literally set up the lights, cameras, microphones, things like that, but then also getting the possibly coming up with our audio trademarks or our intros, outros, helping us format the different episodes and different discussions and conversations. And then publishing the once we have the videos done and things like that. So Desi's nothing but a damn asset, and I think he'll bring everything to the table that Blakeston that I can't.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah, and he's fun to work with.
Yeah, I was actually nervous today for this. I was a little bit nervous just because this means we're putting out content that is legitimate, how we feel and think. I'm used to, which I'm proud of, and I work very hard on who I am as a person and trying to analyze and take stuff in and think appropriately. But all of my content is on social media, is having fun and being an idiot. is I post what I think is funny, and I just have fun, and I say stupid things, and I act like a goof. So to put a different, disregard the spit that just came out of me, to put forth a different foot of, an actual intellectual, you know, thought process and all that is a new kind of thing for me.
Yeah.
Which I love having deep talks, but this is a whole thing and a new endeavor, which is always going to be a nervous thing. But I'm excited.
Yeah. I think it's a very good thing. I think that this guy.
Yeah.
To be so for anybody listening, if ever we express, this is for me, but I'm gonna speak for Blakeston too.
Yep.
If ever we express an opinion you disagree with, come back to this moment and please remember this moment, because I'm going to tell you guys, first and foremost, I have a couple different philosophies for my patterns of thought, not any individual opinions on things, but for my patterns of thought. It's in a very real sense to who I am as a man. My opinions are not me, if that makes sense. If like I want my opinions to change. I want the way I think about things to be challenged, and it's like, okay, I think this, but dead serious, I could learn something today and change this that I think literally right now on the spot. I have no emotional attachment to what my opinions are, and I don't know what the real way to describe this, because the way we think about this world and the ideas that we form about different topics around us is our life. That is who we are as people. So it's kind of hard for me to really explain. But when I think about it, I am not my opinions. I am more so this idea that my opinions are changing, growing, and evolving. And if I am faced with something, like for example, think about like pre-enlightenment, think pre-Renaissance, people, there was no scientific method. And I don't know, I could be wrong about my facts, whatever. There's no scientific method. Everything there, all the information came from the church or,
right.
Clergymen or whatever. They say whatever they want. And you can't, if you question, what's happening, you're just going to be killed or ostracized or whatever it may be. There is no question with it.
Which just stunts any kind of growth.
Yeah. So to assess things or to look at every single thing that we're faced with, whether it's political discussions, whether it's, emotional discussions, whether it's relationship things, so be able to look at things, question every single thing about it, question why am I doing each and individual thing that I'm doing objectively. And if you can't look at things and have answers for why you're doing what you're doing, or have, good reasoning for why you're doing, be able to change that, be able to look at yourself and honestly reflect on the opinions that you have and the things that you choose to do, and be able to reflect and be able to learn and be able to grow.
Yeah.
And we should always be doing that, man.
Which I think it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
It's easy to want to grow in a situation where that's what you desire. But in a lot of aspects of life, we have preconceived notions of things, or we just believe things because of whatever we've been told or taught or have, been convinced of. And it's easy for us to say that now, but there's things that we might not even realize that we believe a certain way.
That's what I was thinking.
And it's, so it's easy, for religion, for example, I'm not religious whatsoever. And no matter how, and I don't necessarily want to be this way, but I feel so strongly about how I feel just because of all of the research I've done and people I've talked to and things that I've encountered.
Experiences.
And no matter how realistic something that someone brings to the table of proof of something, I think I would be pretty dismissive of it, even just because of how unrealistic the rest of it seems to me. So it is easier said than done. I'm open to the fact that there are possibilities out there that I don't understand or don't necessarily agree with, but it's easy to say I'm open-minded whenever it's something that I'm not passionate about.
Yeah.
Because then I have nothing to lose, So
honestly, even with things like that for myself, with things like big questions, like controversial topics, like politics or religion, I pretty much literally admit that I have an opinion, but I literally don't know. I don't know enough information. I hear people talking about things. I mean, there's probably with a political landscape, for example, or like understanding like the president's role in economics versus culture's role on economics in the state of it's like there's probably a few people in the world who have a holistic understanding of you know, for example, the United States economy, to be able to say, here's what's going on because this, and this. You can look back 30 years and see this, and
And
happen.
there's still probably a bias or something.
Yeah, and there still would be a bias, but it's like, dude, I couldn't even begin to wrap my mind around the sort of information that I would have to have and know that I absolutely do not know to even be able to have an opinion on a topic.
Yeah.
And I feel like so many things in my life that I talk about lately, it's just like, yeah, I have no opinion. I mean, this might be what it is, but I have been shown too many times that it's like, okay, here's your opinion, which makes sense right here. Scratch a little bit deeper and you'll see why that's completely not true.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, that's happened to me so many times. It's like, yeah, I am so aware right now that I don't know anything.
Yep.
I literally don't know anything. Religion, politics, economics, you know, current pressing social, cultural issues. It's like, yeah, they're so fucking big that I'm okay admitting that I literally don't know. Anything could be true at any point in time. And that doesn't even help if you're doing anything, but I feel like that's probably more helpful than having stake in your ground that you're willing to die on.
Right.
You know, when there's somebody else who is equally convinced of the opposing ideology who's also willing to die. So it's like,
yeah, you're not really going to convince anyone of anything these days.
Right.
Not these days, just in general. And just people just have their opinions, and I like to be able to talk about, you know, differing opinions, but a lot of the time, I shouldn't say a lot of the time, but people that have strong opinions don't necessarily want to hear, even if there's a valid point on the opposing side. But
for the most part, I never want to be that way. Talking to people like that reminds me, oh yeah, don't be that way.
And that's the biggest thing for me that helped me understand that was how people present something. Obviously, your audience, whoever they are going to receive the information different from person to person. And to be able to present something in a way where someone's understanding of it. I used to be pretty strong, like left-wing ideology and thought like Republicans are, you know, idiots or don't know what they're talking about or whatnot. But then come to find out,
there's idiots across the board.
Yeah.
Literally everywhere.
Yeah.
And we're two of them. Yeah, hold on.
That's us. And talking to my brother-in-law is what helped me the most with that. He explained his thoughts on why he's Republican in certain thought process. And it made me understand, the general theme of any kind of political belief is to do the right thing. What they feel is right.
Yep.
It's the problem.
How to get there.
Well, not only that, but the problem, the biggest problem that I've seen is you only really ever hear the extremes.
Yeah.
With their points of view is because they're the loudest.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are all over saying, you know, if you're homosexual, you know, you're this, or if you think abortions are okay, you're this, and just kind of going off the wall saying crazy things and rude things, and then that's what gives you a negative connotation of the opposing side instead of really understanding their viewpoints and getting a holistic view of what they might have to offer.
Dude, I am very interested in having discussions regarding like incredibly controversial topics, because I genuinely feel like I don't have enough information to be able to make an informed opinion on stuff. And I feel like I don't know, like I've always said from the beginning, through the natural progression of talking through things, the natural progression of that discourse, it's if you are honest and you're open-minded and you're presenting and you are able to, at least for the most part, keep emotion out of it, and you're presenting things that make sense, and both people who are discussing, you know, have an open mind and heart, there's only one way that conversation can go, and it may be blindy and it may not stay perfectly on course, but the destination is true.
Yeah.
If you're talking about, and obviously if you have even 3 people or 4 people who are all open-minded, open-hearted, more importantly, and have good information to bring to the discussion, there's no way that the path of that conversation is closer and closer to the truth. Will it ever get there? Who knows? That might take an entire lifetime for one topic. But I feel like there's no way you're going to be going the wrong way. There's no way you're going to be getting farther from the truth if you are actively seeking it and working through with somebody specifically, and most importantly, if they have a differing opinion than you. So for me, I have no opinion, but I think about things like, I mean, a huge thing that I hear talk about, or that people talk about now, is like the gender pronouns and things like that.
Yeah.
And how it's like so cut and dry to both sides, but it's like, there's an argument there and it's hard for me to see the argument. But there is something there, or so many people wouldn't be so opposed to this issue revolving around pronouns. And I would like to talk to somebody who knows some shit, understands even if it's literally etymology, the way language has worked throughout cultures, historically, like a whole the gender studies people, which I'm sure they have at UMKC or whatever that looks like. I have literally no clue who even the professional would be for that. But having a conversation like just ask them, what the fuck is going on right now?
Yeah.
Why is this an issue? What are the people who are so verbally and vocally opposed to changing the status quo, which first and foremost, the idea that things need to stay the same absolutely drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Nothing has ever stayed the same. The fact that you're like, well, it's this way, and they just are this change. Like, it's like, no, things are going to change.
It's just what people are used to.
Yeah. So that
Changes
just goes out the window. But is the change for a good reason or for a bad reason? And then getting down into it, like gender, and even something as controversial as abortion. I have nothing but an open heart and want to do what is right.
Yeah.
But talking to, maybe a labor and delivery doctor, or a biologist or an embryologist, if that's even a real thing, talking to somebody who knows the shit, knows the facts, talking to somebody who understands our culture revolving around that issue, and maybe talking to somebody religious who understands from their point of view, and like just having anybody on to hear their opinion, so through that natural discourse we can have a conversation about what's what, get things fucking sorted, get things sorted out.
At least for us.
Yeah, at least for us.
Yeah, I know just to bring it back to what my kind of goal or thought process is for this podcast.
Do we have a Mexico in here? Jordy, kill it.
This right here.
That's a look.
Is to
hold on.
Nice. Is to kind of push myself out of my comfort zone and talk with people that might disagree with me or whatnot, which it is.
Time out. This is really hot. If you just put right there.
The sauna's pretty hot today, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it's getting hot.
This is our first test run, but we're doing it.
Yeah.
We're really doing it.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're all right. Is to just talk to people and kind of, I don't know. For me, the podcast is almost 100% selfish. It is hang out with Chase, bring people on, sit in the sauna, which is beneficial, and talk about things, which is beneficial for me. So, I'm excited to put this content out there and see who thinks it's interesting and whatnot, but to just navigate doing something new and incorporating it into our lives and seeing what it brings.
I have this idea, and I constantly have this anytime I think about it, which I would love to be more aware of it, but anytime I think about it, there's very vivid imagery that comes to my mind. And if you think, most of the time it's literally this boat traveling through the water, but in a more real sense, it's like, think about like maybe a bullet traveling through the air, and if you could see the ripple effects coming off of it in 3 dimensions, you know what I mean? Or the boat is in 2 dimensions because it's on that plane of water.
Yeah.
You're leaving a wake behind you. No matter what, it is impossible to do anything without leaving a wake behind you, without leaving ramifications, consequences, repercussions for your actions, for your words, for your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, you can't do anything without leaving this wake behind you. And when I reflect back on, I feel like when I'm older and I reflect back on my life, I want to know that the wake I've left behind me was positive, was loving, was caring, was insightful and meaningful and good, just in the very base sense of the word good for this world. And I think about the energy that we're putting into this podcast or this little adventure that we're on right now. I want it to be that. I want anybody who out there is going to listen to help us think critically about things, help us want to figure out why the fuck we're in this world right now, what we're doing here on earth. How do we live a better life? How do we live a happier life? How do we live a more meaningful life? How do we make that wake that we leave behind us as we travel through this world as positive as possible?
Yeah. For
as many people as possible. And if that, I feel like that is my true intention. And I can't see this podcast, if anybody listens to it, if anybody listens to this at all, it is going to have an effect.
Yeah.
So what that effect is completely up to us. And I want it to be good and thought-provoking and lead the people who listen to it, just as it's leading us, my goal for this, to be better people.
Yeah. It's hot in here. It's hard to focus, but we're going to push through. We got 17 more minutes.
I'm feeling good.
Yeah, I'm not. I actually feel kind of cold. Chilly.
If anything, I would turn up the heat because I'm uncomfortably cold right
Can I
now.
borrow your sweatshirt?
Can I borrow your pants?
It's very hot in here. You guys have any idea of being in a sauna? We've been in here for 45 minutes, quick maps.
Quick maps.
No, but yeah, we just to go back to how we got this set up. We bought this sauna like 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and we've been using it a little bit. We did some adjustments to it. We added some
Weather stripping around the door
stripping,
to
yep.
seal it a little bit
which
better.
I'm pissed about right now because I'm very overheated.
I mean, it was holding 150 before.
Yep.
Maybe this is throwing off the temperature, but it says only 148, 149. But I'm cool with that. I think this is very good, and I'm right at the point now where this will be a testament to push through that uncomfortability and see what happens. I'm down to my last little bubbly. Some things so those are just a couple topics, some things that I want to address in the future. I mean, obviously we've talked about the gender pronouns. I've talked about something as complicated as abortion, things like that. I'm 100% down to talk about all those difficult things. And they say it's rude or impolite to bring up politics or religion at the dinner table. And I have literally over the years realized how bullshit that is. You're at the dinner table with the people in your life who know you and who you know most intimately in this world. You're at the dinner table with your friends and family. And if you can't talk about the difficult conversation, you can't talk about the hard topics with the people you're closest to, what is that? So this idea that you can't talk about religion or politics at the dinner table, it is nothing but perpetuating this sort of exactly what we're against here, which is us having hard conversations to become better men. That whole philosophy of don't do it because people get uncomfortable and it's rude. It's like, well, fuck that.
I think they say that to stop it because it's not rude to do it, but people are rude when they talk about it.
Yeah.
And anytime people disagree on you got to think like religion is who people are.
Yeah.
Which I have a luxury of not feeling that way, but they're indoctrinated into, and that might be a negative connotation, but they're taught from a young age of people they look up to, whether it's preachers, whether it's their parents, their whole family, that it's a whole event to go to church with your family and, celebrate certain things.
And pray before you eat.
Pray every day. And
pray before you go to bed.
Yeah. So for people to try and come to a realization, whether I'm right, Chase is right, or other people are right about their opinions, but just think about that these people they look up to for the past 20, 30, 40 years of their lives could be wrong, and that they might have been wrong thinking that way. It's much easier to just keep going.
Yeah.
And it has, in their opinion, no negative effect to keep going. They might not think that deep about it, but
they might not even realize it is easier for me to keep going.
Yeah.
But that is kind of what's happening.
Then again, I could be wrong and I might be overthinking it. I don't know.
I think that to that point, for me at least, did you feel how much just dripped off your chest?
It was a lot.
To that point, for me and for who I want to spend my time with in this world, that sorts itself out. If I can't calmly and nicely and sincerely, for real, from the fucking base of my heart of who I am, from an open perspective and an honest questioning, like, let's see what this actually is perspective, address hard things with you, because I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I don't get worked up about it. I think, here's what I think, what do you think? If your reaction is getting all worked up and we can't get past that to talk about the actual substance of the topic, to talk about the actual content, and we're talking about all these little things before we can even get down to the nitty gritty, before we can get into the weeds because you're too emotionally charged, that for me sorts itself out. And not in a mean way, but like, for example, my mom, no discussions like that with her.
Yeah.
The moment something is introduced, she is way too emotionally charged to be able to have a rational conversation about it. And I know for a fact we had a conversation, I think I told you about this, we had a conversation a couple years ago about Colin Kaepernick when he was taking a knee.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I said, Mom, don't you feel this man has a moral obligation on his heart to do what is good, to do what he thinks is right? And he is.
And not only that, but use the stage that he has to.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
sorry.
Use his platform that he has. He has eyes on him.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, he is creating this massive weight behind him, way more than you or I.
Yeah.
He has people looking at him. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And he's a young man, and he's a fucking, I don't know if he's a black dude, but he's a person. He's a man of color. So he's a role model for a lot of people. He's creating this massive weight behind him. I didn't say all this because I didn't verbalize this, but how I did verbalize it to her is, don't you think he has a moral obligation to do what is good, especially knowing he's an NFL quarterback and people are looking at him, whether they're looking up to him or looking at him, to do what is right.
Which
And she said no.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I said, there's no way you understood. I literally in my mind said, there's no way she understood that, and said no. I said, Mom, let me rephrase. And I said it again. And she said, no, he's a football player. He should just be playing football.
Which is crazy to me.
I said, yeah.
That's crazy to me because
I told my mom at that point in time, we are never going to see eye to eye. Yeah. At least on this topic, there is literally no way we are going to have a common middle ground.
Because with that thought process, there would be
nothing
exclusive, no change ever.
Yeah.
Because, if you are...
he's just a politician. He should just be making laws.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, okay. He's just a movie star. He should just be acting in a movie. It's like, what? He's just a business owner. He should be running his business. It's like, what are you talking? He's a man. Yeah. He's a woman. He's a person.
And that's exactly what, whether you agree with, someone like Colin Kaepernick doing what he did.
I guarantee I could find 30 examples of somebody who was expressing the opinion that she views.
Yeah.
And she'd be like, yeah, good for him. But
well, look at like,
no, wait a second.
Yeah, like women's suffrage or some of that nature. If you look up someone that was, working as an accountant or working as whatever someone might be, and then also advocating for something they believe in that benefited her, she would,
and it's like, and it's so sad because
that's just a lack of even attempting to try and think about it. It's just, she doesn't like him doing that, whether it's because of race, whether it's because of the specific thing or how he's doing it. She doesn't like it. If he was advocating for something the exact same way or something she agreed with, she would most likely agree with and support it. So.
And that literally just is the old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And I mean, my mom, bless her heart, is 70 years old or 71 years old. And it's like, I don't even think she's ever going to be at a place emotionally. She's not there now. It's, very unlikely that she's ever going to be at a place emotionally where she's open to having hard discussions, which is sad because I love my mom, but I don't go there with her.
Same with my dad.
I do my thing, and when I'm with her, my relationship is only this deep because it's like, Mom, we can't have a tough conversation. And to be honest with her specifically, it's not me.
Yep.
I be calm, and not only that, dude, I try to be hyper aware of how I have been in the past and be overly accommodating, overly soft spoken. I if I'm having a conversation specifically with my sisters or mom, I let them interrupt me every single time. The moment they start, I just be quiet. Yep. And I'd be sure to not interrupt them even once.
Yep.
And then it's just, I do anything and everything I can to pass through all the bullshit to get down to the content of the discussion. And it almost never reaches there. We never start talking about the actual substance or the ideology because we cannot get past any of the emotionally charged bullshit.
Yeah. Yep. I have the same issue with that with most of my family. And not that I think the correct way, they think the wrong way. But my dad, for example, he believes in a lot of similar things I believe in. He's just stronger-willed and opinionated. And he, for example, isn't a fan of the right-wing, Trump supporters, and will say derogatory things about them because the extremists will say derogatory things about the things he believes. So then I'm like, well, Dad, you are doing what those people are doing.
You don't like
you mad. Yeah, that make you mad. You are employing the opposite, but the same,
the equal but opposite.
Yeah, exactly. And but I've learned what I do with people that I actually do disagree with, that like are hard-headed and just stuck to their guns and kind of being rude or whatever it is. I just agree with them tenfold. I agree with them stronger than they agree with themselves, and then they'll stop, kind of going on the rant. We're gonna have to close this up. I'm not gonna lie. I'm struggling. I can't.
If you want to go, you can go. I'm gonna do the other 8 minutes.
Well, we
here, turn this off. Take this off.
Do a little outro guy.
I could literally go all day. Not in the heat. I am getting very hot, but I could go all day with thoughts and opinions. So thank you guys for listening. This has been our first one. I don't even know if we will post this. We'll have to see what happens.
If you delete this, like and subscribe.
And let us know your thoughts. But I think that the conversations we're able to have here will bring some value to somebody's life, even if it's one person's life. Well, it's already 2 people's life. It will bring value to Brian and Blakeston's life in a very selfish way. And hopefully it'll create some positive ripple effects in this universe that we live in that is oftentimes, a lot of times can be looked at in a very bleak way and looked like everything is sad or gray and doom. And I don't think that's what it is. I don't think that's what's going on here. And I think that there are certain things in this world that make it seem like this world is a bad place. But I promise you, this world is not a bad place. There are good conversations happening. There are people changing, growing, learning. There's an abundance of love to be had. There's an abundance of opportunity. We live in a world of abundance. And I think that, as men, we can start talking about that.
Yep. Let us know. I don't know if or when this will be posted, but if it is, obviously let us know your opinions and there's going to be things we're going to be working on. We're going to listen to this and see what we think. But we will continue to do this. We'll fight through the growing pains, the obstacles, and figure it out. We'll be creating some social media and figuring out how to help this thing grow. But obviously, any love and support you guys want to show once you do see this and thoughts and opinions, we'll definitely take that in and figure this out together. So
yeah, definitely share this with anybody who you think would be brought some value. And of course, we're going to have more specific conversations and later
about anything, literally random things. I just like talking about stuff.
Yeah, if you want to give us feedback, technical feedback about the audio, video, if you want to give us feedback about the content, about the topics, about ideas, don't hesitate to let us know or reach out. Love you all to death.
Listen, once again, you guys, this has been strictly an opinion. This is an op-ed. You
Yeah.
understand?
And we're well fucking thought out.
And we don't know anything more than you do, but what we do know is that we can share our goddamn opinions. We're grown-ass men, and we're doing what we can to express our opinions.
F yeah.
None of this is a prescription. All of this is anecdotal. All of this is what has worked for us and us trying to sort through this mess that we call life.
And when I said F yeah just now, that's short for fuck yeah.
Love you. Bye.
See ya.